I've heard this before, and it seems to have reigned true yet again. During free agency, during the NBA offseason, there always seems to be a player who you don't think is going to be made available that's always made available in the 11th hour. And it seemed to me that, the New York Knicks were able to do that twice, once with Mikal Bridges and once with Karl Anthony Towns. But beginning with Mikal Bridges, it seemed to me that the Nets were saying, no, we want to build around this guy. We think he's going to be one of the pieces for the future. Now he ends up with the Knicks. Just with you covering both of those teams, how did this come about where Mikal Bridges is now donning the orange and blue?
Yeah, it was a surprise to everybody. You don't trade a guy like Kevin Durant and then trade the guy you got for him the next year.
Right.
You hope that guy's going to be with you for a while. And certainly the way Mikal Bridges played in that first half year in Brooklyn, he looked like he'd be their superstar for many years to come. But last year things didn't work out. The Nets realized they kind of had to, start a rebuilding process, and the Knicks made them, a fantastic offer. I think they sent them 4 first-round picks in that trade. So kind of thing you got to get done. But those teams don't trade with each other. It was, I think, 1980s was the last time. So the Knicks had, they wanted a player like that to build around on their wings, and made a great offer. And then same thing with Towns, another guy who you were not expecting to be available. You had to give up a lot to get him in Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo. But, the bottom line is they think now this is a team that can really compete with Boston.
Do you believe that they do have enough to take down the Celtics, as you've seen them now through a couple of preseason games? I know you're not seeing everything in the bag of Thibs yet, but just on paper, do you believe that this New York team has enough to take down those evil Empire guys in Beantown?
I think they can compete with them. Can they beat them? I'm not sure yet. I think the Knicks are probably maybe one good bench player away. I think their starting 5 they feel as good as anybody, can match up with anyone. And maybe it is, but maybe, and obviously Tom Thibodeau doesn't play really super deep anyway, but if they can get one more decent big man off the bench, then I think they would sort of like their chances. They obviously lost one in Isaiah Hartenstein. Right. If they can replace that, then I think they would feel like they can swing with anyone.
Brian Mahoney, our guest, NBA writer for the Associated Press. Make sure to follow him on X at Brian C. Mahoney. Now, one of the guys that I do love off of the bench, I'm searching for this guy's jersey because I want it just that bad, is going to be Deuce McBride. He seems to be a fan favorite there at the Garden when they play in New York. How important is he going to be to this Knicks run this season, in your opinion?
Well, I think that's part of the reason they feel like they could, trade a guy like DiVincenzo, because they feel like whatever role they give Deuce, he can handle it. And, look, I was a little wrong on him too. I thought, okay, when they drafted him, when they got him here, he's a hard-nosed guy. He'll come out and play defense. Maybe you'll put him in, late in the game when you got to get a stop, but he's never going to be a real serious contributor. I didn't think his offensive game was good enough. But his shot has gotten so much better. They feel he can run the team. He played very well last year when there were injuries. So, he's going to step into, a much more important role than even last year. And they feel like he can handle whatever they give him.
How important is, in your opinion, the health of OG Anunoby going to be to this Knicks roster as well? I mean, when he was in the lineup, the Knicks were dang near unbeatable, not just within the Eastern Conference, but within the entire NBA. And you could see just how the team was able to play and the energy they had when he was on the floor versus him being off. Just talk about just OG Anunoby being able to retain him as the Knicks organization and what he's going to mean to the team moving forward.
Well, you're so right, and I forget the exact number with their record when he was, when he played last year, but it was something like 25-4. It was it was an incredible win-loss record, and obviously, when he got hurt in the playoffs, they were up 2-0 on Indiana when he went down, and I think the Knicks would win that series had he stayed out there. So, when he's on the floor, he doesn't need the ball a lot. He defends great, helps them spacing with his outside shooting. So just on both sides of the floor, he's so important. And, again, you don't find guys who defend the way he does. They feel like they have 2 of them now in him and Bridges. And that's what you're going to need against, again, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum.
Absolutely. Final couple of moments with Brian Mahoney of the Associated Press, covers the Knicks and Nets as well as USA Basketball. I know this is probably a crazy thing to ask with Jalen Brunson, knowing, how much he's done for the New York Knicks, but is there anything that you want to see from him specifically going into this year as the leader of the New York Knicks?
I don't really know what more you could ask. He's his leadership style has been perfect for them. They made him the team captain this summer. I don't think anyone thought he was going to be a 25-point per game scorer. Again, before he got hurt, maybe they win that series anyway last year. So, I'm sure he talks about, he keeps improving. Tom Thibodeau talks about the way the guy's always in the gym. I'm sure he'll come back and add something that will help the team. I just don't know what it could be more than he's already doing.
Absolutely. And final one for you before we let you go. I mean, you touched upon Karl Anthony Towns and the possible impact that he's going to make this season. I understand for a few people they thought it was a head scratcher. Maybe this trade would have been available to the Knicks before the trading deadline. But how do you like the fit of Karl Anthony Towns on this New York Knicks team?
Well, obviously they needed a center. Mitchell Robinson is going to be out for the first, couple months. Obviously we talked about they lost Hartenstein. So, they had to go get a center somewhere. It's hard to find one much better for the way they want to play than a guy like Towns, who can play inside or outside, great three-point shooter. So I understand the desire to go out and get him, but again, they give up a lot. Julius Randle, I think people sometimes underestimate how good of a player he is. You're talking about a 20, 10, and 5 guy.
Right.
There aren't many of those. So, I think it's a trade that both teams gave up a lot to get a lot. And, these are two teams who feel like they're in that title contention, and you got to do that sometimes. So you feel like you're one player away. And for the Knicks, maybe that player is Towns.
Sorry for lying. That was the last one. This will actually be the last one bringing up
No
Julius
problem.
Randle. Do you think the Knicks could have made it work with Randle? He was an all-star for the team not that long ago. I understand that sometimes he does, take up a lot of space and what he's able to do when he's on the floor. I just, found it interesting. It seemed he loved to be in New York. Do you think the Knicks could have made it work out with him if they would have kept him?
Yeah, that's kind of the million-dollar question, and for sure, because when they were healthy in January last year after the guy in Anunoby, before Randall got hurt, they were crushing teams.
Yes.
So I think if you said, let's bring that team back, I think they feel like they could have won with that team. But again, they don't have a center going into this season. And, you just kind of said, all right, we have to go find one, and it cost them Randall. I think they could have done it, but I think they felt like they just didn't have a choice, and this was a move they had to make.
Absolutely. He is Brian Mahoney of the Associated Press, their NBA writer covering the Knicks, the Nets, and USA basketball. Make sure to follow him on X at Brian C. Mahoney. Mr. Mahoney, thank you so much for a couple moments of your time. Hopefully we can do this again down the road when the New York Knicks are in the playoffs and beyond.
Sounds good to me. Thanks very much.